So, important people have played Pokemon Sword and Shield for 1 to 2 hours, and their remarks and impressions are in. And I'd say surprisingly, based on all the negativity surrounding this game the last couple of months, the previews are glowing. People are loving Pokemon Sword and Shield across the board and proclaiming it to be a true step forward for the franchise, something we hoped for, expected, worried about, but now have official confirmation that, yep, this game is pretty darn awesome. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force, and whew, such a relief. One, I really want Gen 8 to be amazing. I've been waiting for Gen 8 since the Switch launch, a true console Pokemon that you can play on your TV and take on the go. Let's Go was that, but was it really that, since it was more of an offshoot, I guess, a remake trying to be a little more casual than what we're used to. Here they are taking steps forward. And the big takeaways from the previews are that the wild area really seals the deal on this being a new evolution for Pokemon. But let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and are pumped for Sword and Shield, which are now less than 30 days away. I cannot freaking wait. Some of the big takeaways from these previews are: one, the tutorial is shortened. Thank goodness gracious, they're being much more respectful of hardcore players, people that have played before or just, I guess, understand gaming in general. It still is welcoming to new players, but they all say, all the previews, all the people that I'm guessing will eventually review the title from these big publications and big websites say that it was really nice to see a condensed tutorial, that you kind of get into the action a lot quicker than we're used to. They also say that the game's scope and scale is impressive. And we're not just talking about the Gigantamax Pokemon, we're talking about the towns, the villages, the areas, the world itself. There's more of a focus on story this time around. I read one preview that compared the game more to Final Fantasy than to Pokemon, and I think that might be getting a little pie in the sky there, a little crazy, a little too esoteric and a little overboard, but it's good to hear that they are stepping beyond what we've come to expect, the rinse and repeat that we've gotten. And some people may not like that it's changing, just like some people don't like the whole National Dex debacle, but I gotta say that this to me is super reassuring, to hear that the game is expanded, to hear that the game is an evolution. There's been concern that, they've messed up, they've taken time away. Look, they're focusing on Little Town Hero. I tried to stream Little Town Hero yesterday, and so many people were saying this game is the reason Pokemon Sword and Shield isn't what it could be. And that's just not true, but now we have factual proof. They shifted a very small team to work on Little Town Hero, an experiment, a new idea, try something different, a little bit bold compared to what they're used to. I don't think that game is going to win any awards, but I also don't think it's terrible. It's kind of addictive in its own right, and I've been enjoying it. But the big takeaway is that no, Pokemon Sword and Shield do not suffer because of Little Town Hero. They do not suffer because of poor decisions internally. In fact, as Masuda has said, their internal decisions have allowed for Pokemon Sword and Shield to be bigger and better. And it looks like that is best exemplified by the wild area, which the Pokemon Company says is the size of about 2 regions in Breath of the Wild. And if you look at the Breath of the Wild map, that's a pretty big area. It's pretty substantial. Now, of course, a giant area is only good if you fill it with really cool stuff. And the previews confirm and new footage shows that they're much more lifelike than even Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. The idea of having Pokemon wandering around has been doubled down exponentially. Now they're flying around, they're all over the place, different environments, different weather. They move far less robotically than they did in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And I think this contributes to making it feel like you are a part of the anime. I think the art style also contributes to that, and I read that numerous times, that it feels like you've been thrust into the world of Pokemon and you're getting to explore and experience what Ash got to explore and experience. And I said that a little bit about Let's Go last year because I thought it was so cool to see Pokemon out roaming free. But it definitely seems like it is going to be a much larger piece of the puzzle this time around. Another awesome benefit of the wild area is the ability to wander into unbeatable encounters. Run into Pokemon that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times your level. I saw numerous reports of that, of like, hey, got into a really powerful final form Pokemon battle and was scared and had to get the heck out of there. That it's much more open. You're still progressing through the gyms. We've gone through that whole thing about the major and minor leagues. But the wild area is going to give you a little sense and a little taste of what's to come. You know, it's sort of laying the groundwork, laying the bait for, hey, you got to go train, you got to go get these gym badges, you got to catch stronger and stronger Pokemon so you can venture out into the farthest reaches of the wild area. And I like that. I like that it's not restricted. A big open space allows for these kinds of moments where maybe you all of a sudden hit, you know, a terrible Tyranitar, and goodness gracious, that was a ferociously fearful fight because all you had was Grookey. And it sounds like they have expedited, at least for some of the Pokemon. You know, I heard Nintendo Life talking about Sobble gained Water Gun earlier than they expected, which is good. They kind of get you going right away. You grab your Pokemon and go. Yeah, it's still the 3 Pokemon pick, but the way that they walk you through that process is expedited so you can get to the wild area within the first hour and a half. I think that's awesome that it's opened up right there, and that does, because you'll be a lower level, you know, allow you to hit these spooky encounters. Pokemon can be out there in the wild. There can be random grass encounters. There's also exclamation point encounters that have rarer Pokemon. And the way that they're handling stronger Pokemon that have like a yellow aura, it's kind of like the larger, smaller Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, but this time is much more about the strength of the Pokemon and the IVs that they have, and it should be a nice benefit and an easier way to build a competitive team for those who are into that sort of thing. I was also so glad to hear that there are a lot of new Pokemon. Multiple outlets reported that they saw a bunch of new Pokemon. One outlet said, oh, between here and here we saw 7 new Pokemon. And another said that there is a shockingly large number of newbies. And I think that's exciting because thus far, they haven't revealed much. They've shown some. They focused on some Galarian forms. They've given us a lot of Dynamax, Gigantamax Pokemon. But apparently, that new roster is bigger than expected. Now, there's a chance that it could all be front-loaded in order to make the opening hours of Pokemon Sword and Shield much more awe-inspiring. But I would guess if they're leading with a bunch of new guys, that it probably persists throughout the adventure. And if you think logically about the National Dex controversy, well, one of the outcomes is that they did want to add a lot of Pokemon. And I think we just thought it would be a smaller set, and they almost, I feel, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought they alluded to it being a bit smaller. But thus far, the impressions are that there's going to be a lot of fresh faces added to your Pokedex, and I think that's so fun. They're also reporting that the Galar region and its UK references, jokes, and nods are really cool, and that you get a sense of the place immediately, and kind of everything falls in line and feels congruent and consistent, and that's really important. And that the scope and scale, as I mentioned, of the towns are really impressive. There's a lot to do, a lot to see. Customization is better than ever before, if that's your type of thing. There's some additions to the cutscenes to make them a little bit better, but still having these silent actors is a bummer. And speaking of bummers, the one that I've seen is the technical side of things not so hot. Now, Pokemon has been a handheld franchise, so maybe you're not needing a lot in that department. Frankly, I'd rather the game be bigger, bolder, and more fun to play than look brilliant, but apparently it does not run all that great. 720p, 30 frames per second, and basic textures. Now, I think artistically the game looks good, and in terms of how it flows with the world of Pokemon and your feeling of immersion, everyone has praise for that side of things, but it's just specifically the technical side, whereas the 3DS games kind of pushed that hardware and really looked great. And I think Let's Go, even for its art style, looked really good last year. It sounds like this one is not going to be as impressive. No one said it was bad, but just that it's average and kind of and not. I think for the steps that it's taking in the gameplay departments, in the world departments, maybe you would expect the visuals to also level up, you know, since it is the first true brand new console game, a Gen 8 experience on Switch. But it sounds like that didn't happen. Maybe that was a sacrifice that was made, or maybe they just don't have as good of an understanding or prowess with the Switch as some other developers. But regardless, I don't think your eyes are going to be as excited as your mind this time around. The last major point that was discussed were the raid battles, and everyone kind of, I would say, glossed over them, but didn't go into a lot of detail because it sounds like the game did go into a lot of detail. They got to play with AI comrades and go in a 4-person max raid battle fight and duke it out with a large Pokemon. but it seemed like either there wasn't a lot of tutorial on that end of things, or maybe it's explained more in depth as you progress through the adventure, or they just didn't have enough time, but nobody really had any like crazy impressions or thoughts on that. It was more like, oh, they're in here. So I don't know if that's a sign that maybe they're more simplified and basic than people were expecting, and it's not going to really be a major part or a major focus of the game or of our time within the game, or rather it's something that just unravels itself and reveals itself, as you progress deeper in the adventure. Remember, this is just the first 1 to 2 hours. But the fact that people are saying the first 2 hours was great, was inspiring, was exciting, was wonderful, that's really, really, really good. Because Pokemon's opening hours in the past, very samey. If this was just like every other Pokemon, the reports would be, hey, it's Pokemon with some new guys and a new area and the wild area, but no, like they thrust you right into what they're doing, bigger, better, and more badass, and it sounds like it is going to truly be a step forward. So for anyone who is concerned about the National Dex controversy, about the animation controversy, that this game was going to suffer and lag behind and not be what we wanted, I mean, maybe it isn't what you wanted, maybe you'd rather have the same darn old Pokemon with the full National Dex, but for me, I'm really, really excited. I've been excited for this game as Nintendo's tentpole release of 2019 for a while now, but hearing how bold it is, how evolutionary it is, it's probably not as evolutionary maybe as the hyperbole in their written word, but I'm sure it is a substantial change because everybody is saying the same thing, that this is the true next step for Pokemon and that they really love it. So I'm incredibly hyped. You don't have to worry. They didn't go gangbusters in a little town hero to make Pokemon Sword and Shield slight and sucky. It sounds like everything's going to be a-okay. We're in the clear. Cannot wait. Less than 30 days ago. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited to hear this? More likely to pre-order or pick up on launch day? Or are you still apprehensive about what they're doing with Grookey, Sobble, and Scorbunny? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and our pump for Pokemon in November. Until that time, everybody, thanks again for watching. Have a fantastic day. Switch Force